Hi, welcome to STEM in 30. I'm your host, Beth Wilson, and we are coming to you live from the Moving Beyond Earth Gallery in the National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. And today, helping me out, I have some students from Whittier Education Campus, also Washington, D.C. I think we're ready to go. All right, so we're going to talk about space food today. And the first thing I have is a little challenge for you all, okay? So you guys have got 30 seconds. I'm going to walk around and we're going to guess what this is, okay? Let's go. What do you think it is? Candy? Candy? Okay, so I had some really interesting guesses this time. My favorite was crocodile legs, but actually what this is space food from the Mercury Gemini missions. So very early on in our travels into space, we were eating food that looked like this. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about some food, and I have another great guest here, Chef Kay. She is the author of Fat Taste, Little Fat. And you can tell she's a real chef because she is dressed like a chef. And thank you so much for being here today.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Chef Kay, what do our bodies need from food?
Well, nutrition is an important part of everything we do. So I like to think of it almost like a rocket because we're here at the Air and Space Museum, right? So think of the structure is everything you need. It's a protein first, and you're going to build muscle structure with that, bone structure, and let everything, be your strong point there. Then the minerals and the vitamins all come from fruits and vegetables, and that's going to be more your circuitry, keeping everything communicating properly. You guys are seeing and touching, tasting, all of that, skin, everything. Keep that in line. Then you need carbs. Carbs are the fuel. Basically, it gives you the energy, carbohydrates, and that'll get your rocket off the ground so you're ready to go through the day.
Okay, so why should we care about what we eat?
Well, that's going to affect how you're feeling. It's going to affect your energy level. That's going to affect your mood. It's going to affect your growing. You guys are all growing right now, so you need to make sure that you're eating everything important for your muscles and your bones to do what they need to do to develop.
And what exactly goes into a nutritious meal? I see we've got some stuff on the table here.
Yep.
So
proteins.
Want to talk a little bit about what goes into a nutritious meal?
Right. Proteins we started with. Can anybody tell me? So there's that meats. Everybody knows that. Beans. We have nuts here. That gives you all kinds of the structure building that we were talking about. The vegetables. The brighter the colors, the better. You get more minerals and vitamins from those. This is kale, and I've got a pepper. I've got apple. When you're eating vegetables and fruits, you need to eat the fruit. A lot of people think that drinking the fruit juice, it works, but it's actually a lot of sugar. You actually need the fiber and everything that the fruit can provide. So then you have your carbohydrates. You have some good fats. Fat is actually something kind of like oxygen. We need it, and this is an avocado, which is filled with a lot of fat, but it's a good fat. And that's something that we store. If you're low on carbs or you're low on everything and your energy's low, then your body starts going into the fat to search for the energy. So that's kind of your reserve fuel tank.
And I think we've got questions from the audience, and we might have some online questions as well. So
okay.
Who has a question over here for Chef Kay?
What was the easiest thing you probably ever would cook?
The easiest thing I've ever made. I would probably say, do you mean like a whole meal or just one thing? The whole meal? I think of making a chicken breast or something like that pretty easy, or scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs are pretty easy to make. Can you make those? Yeah? All right. Excellent.
I think we've got a question over here.
How did you start making space food or food?
I started making food. Yeah, I actually just make all the nutritional meals. That's what I make for everybody. But I started out in Italy. When I was about all you guys' age, I was living over there. And I began learning from all the mamas and the grandmas, all the fresh fruits and vegetables and herbs and spices that you can put into everything to make sure you're having a healthy but delicious meal. So that's what got me started.
And we have an online question.
Okay.
Can dessert be healthy?
Yes, sir, it can. Yep, if you're going to go with fruits and you want to slice fruits, we actually have apple crisp that I do that's in my book. And we'd have, you slice the apples thinly, just do a slight topping on there. We leave out all the butter that's in like apple cobblers and stuff. And we can still make it a really low, lean, and healthy vitamins and minerals. Going for a healthy deal.
Okay, you've got a question?
Yeah, I want to say that. How do you make like real food into hard food?
What's that?
How do you make real food into hard food?
To hard food. I think you're jumping ahead.
Real food.
Yeah, how do you make real food to hard food? Like when you stand in the spit, it's hard like this one.
Oh, that's where they dehydrate it. Actually suck all the moisture out of it. And we're going to actually have somebody that's going to talk to you from the Space Center in Houston that we'll get back with you later. She'll catch you up on that.
Okay, you got a question?
What's your favorite meal to make?
What's that?
What's your favorite meal?
My favorite meal is probably my beef bourguignon. I love that. And it goes over rice.
Any other questions? Oh, we got one here.
Is being a chef your favorite job?
Absolutely. I love being a chef.
Okay.
How much steak should you eat in maybe a day?
In a day? Well, about 4 ounces. Unless you want to eat steak each meal, then I guess you could do 4 ounces each time.
Okay, so we did an activity earlier, and you all put together some healthy meals. So do you want to tell us what ingredients did you use, and what did you create?
We created a salad. We used like meat
And what else?
and chips, and the dessert was supposed to be M&Ms.
Ready?
The dessert is M&Ms. And what unhealthy stuff did you get? I see you got soda in here, but you've used a lot of the healthy stuff, didn't you?
Yes.
Good. I think we've got someone over on with Chef K.
Absolutely. So in your box, I had some hummus, I had some cheese, and a Milky Way bar, and I had some other candy bars, and then you had some apples and a muffin. What did you guys come up with?
We came up with, we did apples and muffins with peanut butter, and we came up with a dessert.
Okay, so it's like a dessert snack. Yeah. Very nice. Good. And still healthy. Excellent.
Okay, and in your box, I see you had tomatoes and Pop-Tarts and bacon and eggs. So what did you guys come up with for your healthy meal?
We came up with an egg and bacon tomato burrito.
Is it so it's sort of like a breakfast burrito?
Yep.
Would you eat this for breakfast?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so I had over here this team. I gave you guys some mini donuts. I gave you some gummy bears, some garbanzo beans, sliced peppers, and a granola bar, right? And a couple pieces of bread. What'd you come up with?
We came up with a PB, pepper, and apple and honey sandwich.
Excellent. That's a good combination. With a little garbanzo bean garnish around there so you can eat on that. Good, you stuck with the healthy. You left out the gummy bears and the donuts. Excellent. Way to go.
Okay, so on this table, it looks like you had Cinnamon Toast Crunch, cookies, and do you want to tell me what's in this one?
Carrots, ham, and rice.
Carrots, ham, and rice, and what's on?
And the cup is cinnamon toast crunch.
Okay, and then you actually created dessert too, didn't you?
Yes.
You want to tell us about this concoction here?
There's a cookie over 3 musketeers and a cinnamon toast crunch on it.
Okay, so you have to eat the good stuff before you eat the dessert, right?
Yes.
Yes, I
Very
think
nice.
we've learned that today.
They've done very nice. I like the combination there. Excellent. So they got a full meal. Okay, on this box, what do we have over here? We had a candy bar, we had some Cheetos, we had a little bit of tuna, and we had some crackers, right? So what did you come up with?
I came up with tuna, crackers, and tomato, and some hot Cheetos, and I mixed it into like a breakfast. You can eat it like breakfast and the lunch.
Breakfast or lunch. Okay, excellent. And you left out the candy bar, so you knew you did the good nutrition.
I think we've got some very nutritious meals here. And now what we're going to do is we have actually in our collection space food, and we're going to take a look at some of the more unusual artifacts that we have here in our museum collection. I'm here today with curator Valerie Neal, and we're taking a look at some space food. And Valerie, I'm curious, how did we get these very strange looking soft drink cans in our collection?
Well, Coca-Cola and Pepsi approached NASA about flying soft drinks in space in an early shuttle mission in the early 1980s. This was a time known as the Cola Wars, when Coke and Pepsi were very competitive with each other, each wanting to be the #1 soft drink provider in the world. And what could be cooler than to be the first soft drink in space?
So why soft drinks?
Well, they thought that maybe the crews would like to have a greater variety in their beverage selection. Astronauts had always been accustomed to powdered drinks, and they thought that maybe they'd like to have a good all-American soft drink while they were in space. But there are problems with that.
Yeah, I can see they've got these bizarre tops on them.
Exactly. If you were to pop the top of a soft drink can in space, it would spew everywhere and make a big mess. Or even if you twisted the cap, it would float out of the bottle. So the companies put some time and effort into devising a special soft drink can for use in weightlessness. And Coke developed a device on top that you would actually put in your mouth and push the button, and it would squirt the soft drink into your mouth. And then Pepsi did an adaptation of a standard shaving cream can or a whipped cream can, where again you would put the little spigot on top right into your mouth and drink that way. And just as shaving cream and whipped cream come out pretty foamy, so did Pepsi, and so did Coke for that matter. The crews were not really impressed with the taste or the mix of carbonation and syrup.
And is it in there just the way an ordinary Coke can or Pepsi can is?
No, there's actually structure inside the can to keep the carbonation and the syrup separate, so that they would mix at the point of drinking. Okay. And they tried different combinations, and they never got the taste quite right or the consistency quite right.
Well, how do you keep an ice cold soft drink in space?
Well, that was also part of the problem. There's no refrigerator on the space shuttle, and so they had to drink at room temperature. And who likes to drink a warm soft drink?
Not me.
Not the astronauts either.
Well, thank you very much. It's very interesting history on Cola Wars in space. Okay, so now from NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas, we have food scientist Dr. Grace Douglas joining us. Hi, Grace.
Hello.
Grace, can you tell us how important is food to astronauts?
Food is incredibly important to our crew members. They're on the International Space Station for around 6 months, and it is a very unfamiliar environment. It's not very home-like. So the familiarity of the food and the comfort they can get from the food, the variety, the choices they have, the health aspects they can get out of the food are all very important. Meal times are incredibly important to the crew members. Just similar to meal times here, it's fun to eat with your friends, it's great to eat with your family. Holiday occasions where everyone gets together are still very important to crew in flight. So we want to provide them with the variety and with the familiarity of food that they would have here on Earth.
Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some astronauts actually eating in space.
Hey Grace, this is Chef Kay. I just wanted to ask you, so we saw all of that fun that they're eating. How do they actually prepare the food that we send up there?
We have several different kinds of food. We have many of our foods are freeze dried, and so we prepare them. So something like macaroni and cheese or potatoes au gratin, and then we remove the moisture here on Earth, and they can add that moisture back once they get into flight and eat it when they get there. And this preserves the food. Without the moisture, microorganisms can't grow, and so they can keep the food for a long amount of time. Without refrigerators and without freezers, which they do not have on the International Space Station. Additionally, we have several thermostabilized products. They're retort thermostabilized, so it's canned food in a flexible pouch. And all of our packaging is flexible and lightweight, so it's easy to stow and launch into flight. We have several items that come from the commercial grocery store, such as candies and crackers, and we repackage them for flight because they can't have crumbs in flight. So you can't just open a bag of cookies, there would be crumbs that would float out. So this way it's a single serving and they won't have to deal with crumbs. And additionally, we repackage them because it extends their shelf life. Things that get launched onto the International Space Station end up being there for a year to 3 years. So they have to have a long quality and safety shelf life. Our drinks are packaged so we have powdered drinks, and they're packaged with a septum similarly to the freeze-dried foods. And the septum is a one-way valve, and in flight, they can inject a needle that injects water into these packages, and once they pull the needle out, the one-way valve keeps the liquid from coming back out. And after a few minutes of massaging the foods, they can cut it open and just eat it with a spoon or with a fork, and there's a surface tension created by the moisture in the food that keeps it in the package or on the spoon or fork while they're eating. And for the drinks, they have a straw that inserts through the one-way valve, and it has a clamp, so they can just drink one sip at a time and clamp it in between, and the drink doesn't just keep coming out of the straw.
Okay, well, and I'm sure it varies from crew member to crew member. But what would be like some of the favorite things that they enjoy up there that they really want you, and what challenges you guys to make them?
Several crew members say that they like spicy foods. They like things with a little bit more flavor. So we send things like sriracha sauce and hot sauce, but we also have things like shrimp cocktail, which has a spicy sauce, and the reason for this could be due to potentially a few different factors. One of them is there's a fluid shift to the head in space flight, and so it can give them a sensation similar to having a cold where they don't taste things as well. Additionally, there's competing aromas in space flight. They're in an enclosed environment. And finally, the aromas don't dissipate the same way they do on Earth. They don't rise and dissipate similarly in microgravity, so they're losing that aroma that they're getting from the food.
It's interesting for them, I'm sure, because a lot of times what I say down here on Earth is that we eat with our eyes, our nose, and the aromas and all that. That's the first thing that we get that makes us be ready to like, oh, and that sends it all to the brain saying, I'm ready to eat this. So that's probably effective for them, I understand.
Okay, and I think that we have some questions from the audience. Do you have a question?
Why is the baked bean smushy? Like, the baked bean is supposed to be like a bean instead of smushed?
I'm not sure
We
what
wanted to know why
beans
the-
you're referring
we wanted to know
to.
why
So we have packaged bean product, so like in a pouch.
Yes, it's a packaged bean product that looks
And
feels a
so
little
I
squishy.
think we have they would be thermostabilized in a pouch similar to a canned food. So it would be, it would probably feel squishier.
Okay, and we have another question from this table.
Is the nuts, is it like always inflated, like stiff?
I'm sorry, what did you want to repeat that?
Is the macadamia?
Oh, why are the macadamia nuts feel so stiff in the vacuum packed?
We pull a vacuum on our packages to remove the oxygen, and it gives our items a longer shelf life. They don't have the oxygen in them that causes some of the reactions like rancidity. and that can actually make them feel stiffer. So if you cut that package open and they have the ability to move around, they'll be like normal macadamia nuts that you would buy at the grocery store here. It's the fact that the vacuum is pulled that makes it feel stiff.
And let's go to an online question. AJ would like to know if you can have dairy in space.
We don't have refrigerators or freezers, so you can't have dairy like you would normally think of it at the grocery store. But we do have non-fat dry milk that they can drink in a pouch once they rehydrate it in flight. And we also have non-fat dry milk in the cereals that they can rehydrate in a freeze-dried type of package and eat as a cereal. And we also have a yogurt product that's thermostabilized in a pouch. And so it's not like a yogurt that you would find in the grocery store, but it's a dairy product and it doesn't need to be refrigerated.
Hey Grace, I have a quick question for you. Here on Earth, I have a lot of challenges, and we have some very special dietary needs that we have to follow with a lot of things, gluten-free, different things like that. What's been a challenge for you guys? Are you able to accommodate a lot of the different things up there?
We have not had to accommodate factors such as that previously. There's a potential that we will have to in the future. Currently, we have a standard menu, and so the crew has the same choice. Every crew member has the same choice from that standard menu, and then they have some specialty items that they get in what we call bonus containers that they can choose. But I would say it would be difficult to accommodate some of those specialty conditions without more of a preference menu, which is difficult to do on the International Space Station as a complete menu, but we could potentially do that with more of a preference menu and sending up more food that they choose. It just is difficult. It's a challenge with the way that the resupply vehicles are launched and when they get there.
And we have another online question. What is the most exotic food you've ever made for space?
So most of the foods that we make in our lab are very familiar American fare. We do have some items that use curry sauces, and we also have some items that come from the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency and the Japanese Space Agency, and additionally the Russian Space Agency provides some items that for their crew members that they might share with our crew members. So some of those international items would be more exotic.
And I think now we're going to take a look at some of the packaging that the students did here earlier today. So I'm going to send it over to Chef Kay. And
okay, well, we have Team Blueberry over here. This looks pretty interesting. What did you guys have for your concept that you're going on here?
Well, for the cookie, we was gonna wrap it in foil, and for the ham, rice, and carrots, we was gonna put the top on and close it more with like tape. And with the cereal, we was gonna put bubble wrap on it with a pipe cleaner.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, and let's take a look at, you all had something pretty creative. You were going to cover it, and then what were you going to do?
We was gonna put a plate over top of that, and then put the remover foil, and then put this as the handle and tape it down so it could like carry it like this.
Okay, so we had some really great ideas, and Chef Kate, you've got one more over there?
Absolutely, this team right here, what did you guys have that you're setting up with the garbanzo, the peanut butter and pepper sandwich? You needed to get that there, what do you have?
We have peanut butter.
Well, how are you packaging it? To send in space?
Two plates and a foil.
2 plates and then wrap it in foil? Okay.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. Do you guys want to tell us how you were planning on packaging this up?
We was planning to wrap it in foil and then wrap it up in tape to make sure that nothing falls out the burrito and damage the astronauts when they in space.
Okay, so we had a lot of great ideas. I have another question for Grace. Grace, I understand that NASA is getting ready to do a longer mission, very possibly to Mars. How are you going to prepare food for that long time?
We have quite a bit of research going on in that area right now. So our food system right now, the nutrition does degrade in these prepackaged foods, and so does the quality over time. And when you're looking at a Mars mission, you're looking at a 2.5-year mission, and possibly the food would get sent ahead of the crew members because it's a lot of mass and a lot of volume. And so you're looking at an entire food system that might be 5 years old by the time that they're finishing their mission. So we need to stabilize the nutrition, stabilize the quality of the food so they have good nutrition and high quality food that they really enjoy eating throughout that entire length of time. So we are investigating some new processing technologies, new packaging that can lengthen that shelf life. And additionally, we're looking at options such as having a pick and eat salad crop element that would add some fresh produce to their menu that they could easily grow in flight and have as a supplement to the prepackaged food system. So there are several options that we are investigating in order to have a successful food system for a Mars mission.
Okay, and we have an online question. Currently, can astronauts grow food in space, or is this still in the research phase?
We have a veggie unit that just went up from the Kennedy Space Center from their space biology program there. And they did grow some lettuce recently in flight. They did not eat that lettuce at this point. It came back to Earth to be tested for microbiological safety and for its vitamin content. And so in future, though, potentially they could use a unit like that to grow some of these pick and eat crops and eat them as part of their meals.
Michaela wanted to know what the messiest food was to eat in space.
We try not to have messy foods for spaceflight because in microgravity it would go everywhere, crumbs would go everywhere. So we try to keep our foods contained where the surface tension keeps them in the package and that there's not a lot of crumbs. So it would be difficult to pick a messy food. It could possibly be a drink. So if it comes out of the straw and they're trying to chase a drink, that could be considered messy.
And Chef Kay, I believe you have an audience question.
I do. What you got?
I was gonna say that, like, when you go into space, where do you keep all the food?
When they go into flight right now, the food gets shipped to them periodically in resupply missions, and then they store it on the International Space Station in various locations. And they actually have a pantry-style food system, so they have different containers of food that they open. So one will be meats, and one will be vegetables, and one will be snacks. And so they have a couple of each of those containers open that they can pick from pantry-style and make their meals.
Well, Grace, thank you so much. Chef Kay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Whittier, thank you so much. You guys can give yourself a great big
Good job.
thank you for joining us.